Diaries of a Madman. Written by What Must I Do? Chapter 6. Horsing Around, Part 2. We got some odd looks, I'll admit. More, I soon realized, directed at me than at her. I flicked my new ears and picked up some of the horrified whispers.
A blank flank at his age? What is the world coming to?
Look at him! Never seen one quite like him before. It's not something I'm entirely proud of, but Twilight actually was correct when she said I would get more blushes than laughs. Even Scootaloo, when we ran into her, seemed shocked to see me. She was more shocked at my lack of a cutie mark, though, and completely failed to notice Twilight on my back. She also completely failed to notice she was going very fast on a scooter and just barely managed before crashing.
Mister, why don't you have a cutie mark?
She asked. Twilight snickered. I shifted, and making Twilight flinch to adjust herself so she didn't fall. Because I only just turned into a pony about a day ago, I told her. From there, it didn't take long to click.
Navarone?
Guilty.
Guilty of that and more.
Twilight quietly laughed aloud. I shifted again to shut her up.
What happened?
A spell gone wrong, is all I said. She took that information and sped off, probably to find her two little friends. As we neared the treehouse, I saw signs of hurried occupation and few eyes peeking out the windows. I let Twilight down off my back, and she opened the door for the first time with actual hands. Twilight's fanfare was a lot louder than mine. As soon as she opened the door and walked in, she was hit by a number of unsuppressed snickers. She bore it with decent enough grace and beckoned me forward. I could tell they wanted to laugh, but they couldn't. I mean, I'm not a handsome human, at least not as far as I know. I have no reason to think I'd be a handsome Pegasus. I honestly found myself surprised at my reception, which was covered by at least 3 blushes and 1 quickly suppressed snicker when she realized she was laughing alone. Spike had no reservations and laughed aloud at my discomfort. What? Do I have something on my face? I asked. With that, the spell was broken, and there was a tirade of questions. Most were directed at Twilight, but Pinkie Pie hopped over me and said,
So, how about those dance lessons?
I was rather hoping to change back before long, Pinkie.
You're changing back?
She cried.
Why would you do that?
Her outburst got everyone's attention. Because I don't have thumbs, for one thing, I weakly replied.
Thumbs?
Applejack scoffed.
I've just done fine without them. We all have.
You also never had them to lose. Spike, how would you feel if suddenly you lost the use of your hands? They all turned to him.
Hey, I want no part of this. I'm just gonna write a letter to Princess Celestia real quick.
So much for bros before hoes.
If you ask me,
Rarity hardly said.
You just want to be different for the sake of being different.
Well, nobody asked you.
You look just fine the way you are.
Extra emphasis on fun. If you don't believe me, ask Twilight, I said. She's had to use her hands a few times since we changed. They all looked at her.
He does have a bit of a point. If I didn't know I was going to have the magic to go back as a unicorn, I would be somewhat hesitant to change back.
They scoffed at her answer. Believe me or not, I said, it matters little to me. Celestia will soon be here and will hopefully be able to change us both back. Spike came back in with a scroll, cutting everyone's retort off as he read it aloud. As he went through it, I saw Twilight's face grow slightly resigned, Pony's grow somewhat smug, and I felt, rather than saw, my face droop. Celestia had no idea how to fix us, but she did know it was possible. But she was busy with something big that impacted the realm as a whole, and was unable to help us for at least a week. Luna was on the case, looking for the spell, which meant I was stuck, as a pony, for who knows how long. Well, shit. Twilight, I found myself saying, would you kindly remove this crossbow and the bolts from my neck? I think I'd like to go lie down.
I'll take them off of you, but you're not going anywhere.
I sighed, noticing how much louder it sounded as a pony.
No, we're going to stay here and deal with this. Twilight?
Spike said.
There's another part of this letter I think you should see.
She grabbed the scroll and read it for herself, then reread it. She looked at me and recited,
Do not let Navarone get a cutie mark. I do not know if I can turn him back into a human if he obtains one, or at least, if I can, it will be considerably more difficult. I have never tried it before, but many transformations are especially difficult should a pony find his or her true identity. For many ponies, this comes when they find their cutie mark. So warn him that I may not be able to help him if he has one when I get there.
I won't repeat my string of expletives. So, I said when I was finished. I just do nothing for a week?
Not necessarily,
Twilight said.
Getting a cutie mark takes ponies several years to do. I would be careful to avoid doing anything you much like, though.
Pinkie Pie, good news, I said with false enthusiasm. The dancing lessons are back on.
Really?
She didn't even catch the insult. I sighed and turned to Twilight. Unless I'm needed for anything else.
Nothing I can think of.
She replied with a smile.
Try not to have too much fun.
No chance of that happening. Yes, I've had a few dance lessons in the past. No, I didn't enjoy any of them. And dancing as a pony? No, there was little chance I would enjoy the coming torture. And I'm not going to lie. Pinkie Pie's showgirl outfit did not make me feel any better about dancing with her. How did she even put that thing on? Better question, who makes something like that for a pony? Rarity decided to follow us to Pinkie Pie's rented room at Sugar Cube Corner. Of all our Twilight friends, she was the only one that actually didn't have anything better to do than to watch me embarrass myself. Even Fluttershy had to go back to helping her animals. In Rarity's words,
I just have to see this for myself.
It started awkwardly, but slowly got better. I had no idea how to balance the weight on my two back legs and use the two front legs as a focus point against her, though she had shown me how to do that. And it took longer and was full of more innuendos than I ever suspected of any of these ponies to use. Rarity finally threatened to leave if Pinkie Pie didn't knock it off, which thankfully put a stop to it. After that, it went much smoother. Pinkie Pie made a professional, if slightly silly teacher, and my past experience helped at least a little. I didn't leave as a pro dancer, but I would have been able to hide on the dance floor. All in all, it wasn't that bad of an experience. Not something I'd do if I had another choice in the matter, mind, but it was a worthy way to pass some time. As I prepared to leave, Pinkie Pie said,
Just think, Nav. If you don't change back, we could open a dance studio. And Rarity could design our outfits, and Twilight could plan showings, and Applejack could make money on the side selling concessions, and Rainbow Dash could make dramatic weather, and Fluttershy could talk some birds into doing whatever Bolt is supposed to do at times like that.
Lofty dreams, I replied. Something to think about, but not, I think, enough to tip my hand. Waltzing is an interesting hobby, I admit, but it's definitely not worth the cost.
Waltzing is the only kind of dance out there, you know. I know several I could teach you.
We'll see, is all I answered. For now, I'm tired. Taking care of Trixie was tiring in itself, and finding myself in a new form hardly helped, nor did having to tote Twilight all the way back. With cries to think about it following us, Rarity and I departed. When we were far enough away from the shop, Rarity said,
I'm somewhat impressed, Navarone. I never thought you would be much of a dancer, though it did take you a while to measure your steps.
I think I did rather well for just having to learn how to walk a day or two ago. Though to be fair, I'm honestly still not that good. But Pinkie Pie is a surprisingly good teacher.
Yes, she does have her occasional moments of lucidity. So, what are your plans for the rest of the week?
My main goal is, as it is every week, to not die. That aside, I plan to do my best to not get in any situations I can't talk my way out of. I only have this body until Celestia or Luna shows up to change me. And I really don't want anyone to get any ideas about trying to force or convince me to stay this way.
Is that body really so displeasing to you?
It's not as bad as I feared, I will admit. However, it feels wrong. Like I'm constantly about to fall over, or like my hands are on my knees. I keep trying to stretch my fingers only to realize I don't have any. My ears keep twitching and I'm hearing things that as a human I would never have picked up. My eyes are in the wrong place and my nose, for some reason as soon as I got near town, started smelling. Something new. No clue what it is, but it's annoying.
Well, I can't say I've ever been a human, so I wouldn't really know the difference. But at least you aren't going to be a recluse all the time, it seems.
There are plenty of things I'm not really a fan of that can keep me occupied. Enough to pass some time and not get me an ass tattoo.
So vulgar.
She sighed, shaking her head. Not all of us can be such beautiful examples of decorum, I replied before even thinking about what I said. Wait, did I just call you?
You most certainly did.
She said with a smirk.
You know, I'm sure we could find a few things to do together. Things that would keep us both occupied.
The tone she had started to use made me worry. I'm not sure. Some very dark part of me was whispering for me to jump on that opportunity, but I was trying to ignore it.
After all, I've always wanted a nice-looking stallion to model some clothes for me. You wouldn't mind, would you?
A sigh of relief escaped me and I nodded. If it'll pass the time, sure. But it'll have to be tomorrow. I meant when I told Pinkie about being exhausted.
Very well. It is getting rather late, it seems. I'll come by first thing in the morning and collect you then. Maybe we can find something to cover that blank flank of yours so you can walk around in town without attracting so much attention.
That actually would be pretty nice. I'll see you in the morning then.
Good night for now, Nav.
Rarity replied with a nod, turning off to go down the side road. I watched her for a few seconds, for some reason hypnotized by the sway of her flank. God, stop that. What the hell is wrong with me tonight? After shaking myself to dispel the strange thoughts I was getting, I continued on my way to the library and an early bedtime. Rarity came by shortly after I woke up to collect me.
Are you ready, Nav?
She asked, stepping to the library proper. I wasn't doing anything at the time, since hooves are shit for holding anything. Yeah, I answered. Not sure it'll be fun, but at least it'll pass some time.
Oh, I am sure you'll enjoy yourself, she said. Now come along. Oh, there are so many outfits to try.
Where are you going? Spike asked, popping his head out of the kitchen where Twilight was driving him like a slave.
Nav here agreed to model for me,
she answered with a large smile, wrapping a ring around my neck and pulling me close. Spike's smile from seeing Rarity almost instantly died. I don't think he was happy that I was macking on his honey, but since he never asked her out, that decidedly was a him problem. Oh, can I come? He asked.
You have to help me,
Twilight said from behind him.
We're looking for that spell in the library today. Nav can't do much since he somehow can't figure out how to hold anything with his hooves. But... And it smells like something's burning,
Twilight added.
Like pancakes.
Spike rushed back into the kitchen and Rarity pulled me to the door.
Don't you worry about breakfast, Nav,
Rarity said when we were outside.
I'm sure I can find something for you in my house.
Is it a part of you? I asked once again before I could stop myself. She chuckled, swishing her tail against me.
Oh, only if you ask nicely,
she replied. God, why do I keep saying these things? I asked, lifting her up to try to face palm before remembering I don't have palms. What the hell's wrong with this body?
Oh, nothing at all,
she replied, snuggling against me in a way that I regret to say felt rather nice.
Maybe you're just finally starting to see ponies as more attractive?
I shivered involuntarily, disgusted at the thought. She noticed but didn't comment. Do you really have to be so close? I asked after a few seconds of her standing right next to me as we walked.
For your sake, yes,
she answered, pulling away slightly.
It's never mattered to you before, but you don't want to be a new single stallion in a mare-heavy town like Ponyville. At least, you don't want that. They'd be all over you. I am just doing you a favor.
How generous of you, I flatly replied. But are you sure you didn't want an excuse to rub against my apparently sexy body? Once again she chuckled.
Oh, Nav, I wouldn't need an excuse. Now let's speed up, shall we? It might not be wise to let too many ponies see you without a cutie mark just yet.
I don't know if I can do fast in this body yet, I replied, starting to jog next to Rarity.
You're doing just fine. I bet by the time you can turn back, you won't even want to.
Doubt it.
We'll see.
When we got to her dress shop, she dragged me to the kitchen.
So, have you tried any flowers yet?
She asked, forcing me into one of the seats. No, and I'd rather really not. I know you ponies can eat them, but just the very thought of it makes me feel sick. She rolled her eyes and said,
You don't even want to try them. Just think of all the new flavors you might find.
I'm perfectly fine with keeping to the old flavors, but something I haven't had in a while would be nice. I don't suppose you know how to make crepes. She replied in surprise before smiling.
I didn't know you knew about those. Nobody in Ponyville's ever mentioned them. My, you manage to surprise me all the time, Nav. Making them would take some time, but I suppose it's a fair compensation for assisting me as a model.
If that's too problematic, there are plenty of other things.
No problem at all. Cooking is one of life's simpler pleasures, one I admit and partaking in. Just sit back and relax, Nav. Of course, I just hope a certain sister of mine didn't waste all of my ingredients.
Thankfully, Sweetie Belle didn't. Not too long later, I had a plate of lustingly cooked crepes in front of me. And after realizing I didn't have any fingers anymore and no way to eat them. Fuck. I sighed, looking at my shitty hooves.
What's the matter?
Rarity quickly asked, jumping next to me to examine the plate. I have no idea how to eat with these, I said, lifting one of my hooves. I don't know how you ponies hold things with these, so I can't do it. You don't mind if I wave manners for a few minutes and just eat directly off the plate, do you?
That simply won't do.
She replied, taking a seat across from me.
I'll just have to feed you.
What? Her horn lit up, and the knife and fork she set down next to my plate lifted on their own accord. For some reason, I couldn't see the aura that was usually around them. This is unnecessary, I nervously said, watching the knife cut some of the food off.
But fun,
She replied with a smile.
Now open wide.
I sighed and did so, allowing her to place the very good food in my mouth. Since I was hungry and had no means of feeding myself, I didn't fight back. It wasn't fun, but I bore the indignity quietly enough.
There now, wasn't that fun?
She asked when the last bit of it was gone. Not particularly, but it was good, so I can't complain.
I see you have good tastes. I might have to have you over for breakfast again. Maybe we can have, sleepover?
Well, it's getting pretty cold, so we'd have to share a bed. When I realized what I said, I flinched. Damn it, why does this keep happening?
I don't know, but I quite like it. Much more enjoyable than the Nav I knew.
Can we just get to playing dress up? I'm sure that'll take my mind away from that.
Oh, you know you like it.
She playfully said, standing and levitating the dishes to her sink.
But come along, let's get started. There's so much for you to try on.
I can't say what followed was the most fun thing I've ever done, but it was far from the worst. I honestly don't know how I looked, at least to a mare, but I know Rarity was very pleased with her results. She kept talking about someone named Photo Finish, which I personally thought was a completely ridiculous name. I'm also not entirely sure how she made all the clothes she had me try on that fast. I mean, surely she wasn't storing masses of clothes on the possibility that a stallion would one day show up and say, "Hey, you need a sexy male model?" Rarity can sometimes be crazy, but not that crazy. When I asked her about the clothing she had ready, she got an unhappy look in her eyes and mentioned, rather venomously, a certain him. I decided that it was in my best health to not push the issue. She quickly got over her outburst and went back to playing dress-up with me as her doll. We were in the back room when the bell on the door chimed, signaling someone walking in.
Just a minute.
Rarity sang before turning back to me.
No, not like that. That's the wrong hall. Here, let me.
I'm sorry. This is my first time, I said a bit sheepishly. Well, it was my first time trying to put pants on a pony. Seriously, why do ponies even have pants? Watch it, that thing's sensitive. She had just pulled my tail, which I quickly found was something I didn't want tugged.
I know it's your first time, but surely you used to do this all the time back when you were a human.
Yeah, but that was more of a natural medium, not anything like this.
I figured you'd have some kind of instincts on the matter, the way you acted last night. I know you can move those hips.
That was with Pinkie Pie, though. She wasn't abusing me nearly as much as you are.
Oh, you are hopeless,
She wailed, turning to the door.
Let's go see what my other guest wants.
She opened the door to a very red-faced Fluttershy, who looked from me to Rarity with a mixture of shame and horror.
What were you doing in there?
She asked in a frightened voice. Rarity looked somewhat shocked.
Fluttershy, you should know better. I am a lady.
I quickly thought over what we had just said and smirked before throwing one of my legs around Rarity's shoulder. You don't have to deny it, Rarity, I said, pulling her close as she glared at me. It's perfectly understandable that you'd fall for me.
You're about to be the one falling if you don't stop lying,
Rarity growled. Oh, relax, I said, stepping away from her. Fluttershy just knows I'm joking. A quick look at the timid mare proved that, no, she absolutely didn't know I was joking. Fluttershy, I was joking. Rarity is playing dress-up with me as her doll, and last night Pinkie taught me how to waltz.
Oh, that makes sense, I guess.
She looked a lot less nervous after that, and even considered to pose with me for a few of Rarity's shots. It got somewhat awkward after a few points, but at that point I had done worse, so we managed to get through it. Fluttershy did have to explain how to spread my wings, though. There is literally no other place to cut this without making this a 40-minute video, and I'm afraid that a 40-minute video would take far too long to produce in comparison with this, because I would like to get this out within a day or two of my last one. So hey, I hope you don't mind the abrupt ending too much. I do want to keep going down the list. However, what I can always have time for are to thank my wonderful Patreons. Thank you my Tier 1 Patreons, Chase Lemaster, Squall Windfeather, Rainflicker, Starlight Blaze, Hyperling, Redeemer of Dark, 8th Day of Night, Dreamless Portal, and Jason. My Tier 2 Papa Lennon, Sword Brethren, Mordred, Danish Dash, Night in Game, DJMX 2000, Endless, Solus, RD Bryant, Captain Blue Shadow, Nocturne, HKH4 aka Texture, The Animated Ghost, Can Panzer, and of course, a large thank you to my Tier 3, Dark Guardian, Maverick, and the requester of this series, Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.